Hey guys, Danny here at Fish North Georgia, and today we're going to give you 3 basic casts for the beginning fly angler. Today I'm with Tad Murdoch of Georgia Wild Trout. You know, over the past year, I've gotten into fly fishing. I think I'm hooked. I'm coming from the bass world. There's so much to learn, and I definitely am not the one that needs to be able to teach you, especially if you're a beginner, about casting. So what I've asked Tad to do, just go over 2 or 3 of the basic beginning casts for someone that's like me that wants to get into fly fishing. Definitely not ready for all the beautiful stuff right now.
Yeah, we're not going to get fancy, which is perfect because Georgia doesn't require any of the fancy casting. There's 3 casts that will do pretty much all your work out here. 2 of them in particular are going to be more effective. So the first one is a roll cast.
Roll cast.
That's going to be the one typically closer quarters. You don't have to go behind you on this one, so you're staying out of the trees. You're not working with as much line. So those are the benefits on that one. The second one is a water haul. With the water haul, we're actually using the current to load the rod in the back, and then we're going to go forward.
Okay.
And then the last one is just your traditional fly cast, the back and forward.
The basic.
And we'll go over that one last.
Okay.
Yep. So to start off with the roll cast, we've got probably, about 8 feet of line out of the tip. We might go to 10 feet. Just keep it short. You're fishing relatively close to you. This is the one I recommend for all beginners to start with. Don't hit the water and start doing the long cast. If you need to cast more than 10 feet, you're probably doing something wrong, right, as a beginner. So get in, find your fish, find where you know some fish are holding, and then it's as simple as this. So for beginners, let's keep the line tucked under a couple fingers here. I like index finger running down the spine of the rod here.
Okay.
You can hold it like this. Your range of motion with your thumb, whether it be on the hook set or the cast, much more limited. With this index finger, you've got a lot more dexterity and can go around. Really going to help out beginners. I compare this for my customers a lot like throwing darts. We want to be straight up, pointed towards the sky here, and a little bit to our left or away from our body. It could be right, depending on what side of the stream we're on. But away from your body. If you're straight up like this, that line's going to get wrapped around the rod. It's going to give you a hard time.
Just off to the side a little bit.
Yep, just off to the side. And then all it is, point straight to where you're going.
So
and that's
from here to here.
Yep, 12, and then right at where we're going. And what that's going to do, that line's going to unfold. It's going to roll. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole premise of the cast. Once we're done the drift, we've drifted all the way down here. We're just going to lift right back up to that same spot. Pause, look at where we're going, point right at it. Just going to flip right out.
And the whole thing about fly fishing is we're using the line to get it out there, not so much force.
Yes, it's the weight of the line that's throwing, the roll
rod
and the cast,
and the line
and getting that momentum to get out there.
All right, so definitely straight up, a little out to the side, kind of, but your pointer finger's straight up.
Yep.
And then you just elbows here to wherever you want to go.
Yeah, and if we're casting straight out there, we've got to get below us, but straight at where we're going.
Right, so you can just turn it and do it. You can roll cast anywhere.
And then if it's the opposite way, if I'm trying to cast this way, I'll come off my opposite shoulder.
Backhand a little bit.
Go straight to where you're going.
So it's just pretty much from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock.
Simple, A to B. If you're throwing too much into it, now some of the big problems my customers have, they'll be here, 12 o'clock, and then they'll want to go back here and then try to cast. Don't want to go back. Back's going to get you in the trees. It's going to make your cast shorter. A lot of negatives there. You're going to hook yourself. So probably 12 o'clock at your side, straight ahead.
Okay, so that is the basic roll cast.
Yes.
So highlights of that right here, pointer finger up, out to the side, just there.
Boom, straight ahead.
A to B.
Yep, A to B.
And your line unfolds on the water.
Yes, and then you're ready to fish. So the second one is the water haul cast.
Yes.
So the water haul cast, you can do this with more line. We're gonna use a little bit more. To start this cast off, we're actually gonna cast downstream. So we want to be downstream because we want that current pulling against us.
Okay.
This also helps if you have a bigger fly, either a bigger dry fly or an indicator on, to add more resistance down there so it's pulling your line tight as you cast. After that, same kind of concept, maybe a little bit behind 12 o'clock or at 12 o'clock. If you've got to stay low and get under trees, you want to be at 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. If it's just a traditional one, you can be a little bit farther behind you. And then same premise, right at where you're going.
So you're using the current to basically pull your line tight,
Yes.
loading your rod,
Bingo.
and then back to where you want to cast.
Straight at where you want to go. Now, one thing to know with this one is depending on how much you're changing your angle, you want to maneuver that. So if I'm trying to cast more that way, I need to aim a little bit more to the left. If I'm going straight upstream, it's just straight upstream, but most of the time you're casting across stream too. So where I'm pointing this rod is maybe 10, 15 degrees downstream to where I'm going to end up going.
Okay, why is that?
You're just going to have a little bit of air, right? So
Okay.
just naturally, if I want to cast at this big tree right here, I'm going to aim a little bit downstream of that big tree.
And
Yeah, fish just rose right there. Yeah, so just a little bit of a degree change. Now with the roll cast, it's pretty much almost straight at it. There might be a
Right.
little bit of change, not as much as you're going to see on the water haul though.
Now, when would you use the water haul as opposed to the roll cast?
So the water haul, when you're casting farther, and when you have current, kind of helping you out, pulling you downstream. So a roll cast so we've got an indicator rig on now with a couple flies on it. If I start roll casting that thing longer than 25 feet, I'm starting to lose accuracy.
Right.
So if I want to get where we are now, that's kind of my range right there, and everything's just going to ball up after that.
Okay.
The longer roll cast with these indicator rigs, you'll also start getting knots and tangles and all
Right.
that stuff. So with that water haul,
Yep.
I'm right here.
And
your
normally you would have more current than when we're sitting here.
Yes.
This is kind of slow.
Yeah, this is really slow.
Right.
But see, our line's staying a little bit more straight,
And you get a
and
little
it
bit
stays
forward.
straight all the way through.
Ah.
So you're not dealing with as much slack. So it would be, a little bit marginally better
Okay.
use there. And if say there's tree overhanging canopy, that's when I'm going to start that water haul cast at 12 o'clock, and that trajectory is going to keep it down. Whereas a roll cast, you can see here, this indicator is going to kick up, 15 feet high.
Right.
That's kind of the benefits there.
Okay, all right, so we got the roll cast, we've got the water haul,
Yep.
and now let's do our version of the river runs through it.
So
Right?
this is the one that takes people time to learn. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing you can learn is cadence. So it's all about the tempo, the cadence of the back and forth. A lot of people, they just think this is, just go as fast as possible, and it's not. So the main premise of this cast is, and hopefully you can see that indicator all the way back, all the way forward, all the way back, all the way forward. And what that's going to do is it's loading up our rod at the back, loading it up in the forward cast, then loading it up again. So that's the premise, and you can let line out as we go, back and forth there.
Now, when would you use your standard cast as opposed to the two we've already used? Because what I'm looking at here, you pretty much can do everything with the water haul or the roll cast.
You really could in Georgia.
Yeah.
You certainly could. Now, if you get bigger water, you're making longer casts. That the standard cast is going to get you there a little bit more accurately, a little less disturbance on the water. You start making a 50-foot roll cast, you're churning up a lot of water. Spooky fish are not going to be cool with it.
Okay.
But if we're making a really long one with the back and forth, we can land that out there really nicely, and just have it start fishing.
Okay, so is there a point on this that you start at? What's your starting point?
So the old adage is 10 and 2.
Yeah.
I tell people 11 and 1, because if you tell them 10 and 2, they're going to end up at 9 and 3.
Yeah.
Right? So just short. So the other thing is it's an acceleration to a sudden stop. Right? So back, stop, forward, stop, back, stop. And while you're doing that, the end of your rod tip is staying in almost the same straight line. It might be a slight dip
Right.
in the middle, but it's not. A lot of people they're making an opposite. They're going a rainbow when they're making this motion rather than a dip.
All right, so
Right here.
when they come back and you stop, what are you waiting on?
You're waiting. This is where it takes the feel. This is where you're waiting for that line to start loading up. Once you get the tempo, once you're familiar with how much line you have out, you know about how long that's going to take.
Right.
It might take 1.5 seconds with 10 feet of line out.
Right. For somebody that has no idea what it means loading up, what exactly are they trying to feel?
You will, and you almost want to be ahead of it, but if you're a little bit behind it, which is fine when you start out, you'll feel that rod tip kind of bend, the weight of that line start pulling you backwards.
Okay. So you're waiting for the rod just to kind of get some flex into it.
Yep, but when you get it perfect, you won't ever feel that. You kind of anticipate it. You're a half second before that.
But I got a long way from being perfect,
Yeah,
so I'm wanting to feel it.
It's better, yeah, it's better to start out a little bit slow than it is
So I'm gonna come to 11, and I guess for a beginner, it's best to start out slow. So come back, wait till you feel the line, get pretty much tight, and then the 1.
Forward, yep, acceleration, sudden stop.
Now, the speed back and the speed forward, are they the same?
Same.
So however fast you go back, you got to go forward.
That's another problem I see a lot of beginners make. They're really quick back, really slow forward, or the opposite, really slow back and then really quick forward, and they don't give it time to load up.
Okay.
When you're first starting, don't worry about the fish. When you're learning this cast, you shouldn't be on the water actually fishing or trying to catch fish. It'll distract you from what you're trying to do. Come out, and I would just watch the line. You know, get good at watching your line, watching the fly, watch it go all the way back, watch it come all the way forward. That's going to help you out a lot. The other big tip that's huge for beginners, start with less line. So don't start with 30 feet of line. It's going to be a catastrophe. Start with 10 feet of line, then build to 15, then to 20, and go on from there. Okay.
What are we doing with our hands down here now? As far as with the line and holding it, just for a beginner. I don't want to get into all the.
So again, keep it stupid or keep it simple.
Well, stupid. That's good. Stupid's good for me.
Yeah. You can go either route. But yeah, just you don't have to do much. We're trying. Our wrist isn't necessarily locked, but we don't want that much movement in it, right? So I'm keeping it pretty still, and most of the motion is coming from my elbow here.
Right.
Now I'm doing this left-handed, so.
You're doing a good job.
It's not the prettiest thing in the world,
but
you're
righty,
that's
it's the angles of where we're having a
fun. It's getting the gist. So and it's smooth. It's not forced. I'm not speeding up. I'm not in a rush. I'm just letting it get all the way back, letting it go all the way forward.
All right. Now, as far as the line when you're doing this, and if we're a beginner, just a standard floating fly line is fine. We don't have to get the weight ended or any of that fancy stuff.
Just.
I mean, I'm serious. I don't know what makes it easier.
Yep. No, line out of the package is going to be the floating line. Certainly going to be weighs a little bit, or casts a little bit easier. Once you start getting into the sinking lines, they're heavier. Then you've really got to know your tempo because it's gravity's hitting it a little bit quicker.
Okay, that's for another video. Yep. So real quick, what are the biggest mistakes somebody that's beginning fly fishing? And I've probably already made all of them. But what are the biggest mistakes somebody can make when picking up a fly line and just trying to learn these 3 casts?
So when you're first starting, don't have anything tied on. Just have fly line and maybe a leader. Okay. I wouldn't even put a fly on. That's going to help you. It's going to negate some mistakes.
Right.
You're not going to get hooked on anything. If you're in your front yard, you're not going to get hooked on, the lawn or every other cast or something like that. If you're out here on the river, you're not going to get hooked in the trees when you're a little bit wide on some of them. So that's something that'll make it a little bit easier. The biggest mistake I see is usually too much line. I see people trying to make 30-foot, 40-foot casts.
Yeah, I do that from time to time.
What was our longest cast today? We probably...
Oh, really? Probably maybe 15, 20 feet?
Exactly. And
maybe?
Yeah. Keep it short, keep
and
it simple.
And definitely no regular casting. It was pretty much all roll casting.
Yep, all rolled, some tucks.
You bring it up here and just boom.
I think we had a couple water hauls.
That was it.
But that's all we really needed for the places we fished.
And I would say that the majority of the bites that we had already today were within 10 foot of the bank. So you don't really need to make those long casts.
95% or better of my fish I land with my clients and myself are caught within 15, 20 feet.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Look, 3 basic casts for a beginning fly angler to get out on the water, especially here in North Georgia, the southeast, where we've got a lot of canopy. Hey, make sure you concentrate on that roll cast. The water haul we did use a few times, and then work yourself up to your standard basic fly cast. So, hey, don't try to do it too fast. Take some time, learn it all, but get out on the water and have some fun with it.
Yeah, get comfortable with it, and then it'll all come. The fish catching will come naturally after you work on that. If you spend too much time making mistakes, it's going to take a little bit longer to catch fish.
All right, well, Tad, I appreciate it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We got a lot more lessons coming for the beginning fly angler, and eventually we're going to work all the way up to the intermediate and the pro angler like that. Maybe one day I'll be that. You guys, hey, you take it easy. We appreciate you.